Hey guys, welcome back. I'm your astrologer, Lori Lovian, and today we're going to discuss that Mars-Uranus conjunction on January the 20th. Yes, Inauguration Day in the United States of America. I'm going to pull up the chart for that day at noon when the inauguration takes place. But this won't just be about the mundane astrology or the story of the politics of that day. We're going to take time to talk about all the 12 signs and how this particular conjunction of the two planets will impact you in your own life. And one of the things to understand is that as even though this conjunction occurs approximately every 2 years, where Mars will catch up and meet Uranus in the heavens, this is the first time that this has happened since back in 1989, because in the way it's happening now, because Mars has been fortified and strengthened by having spent 6 months in Aries, his home sign, for how long? 6 months. I just said that. Yeah, June 27th to January 6th. So yeah, it's been a long day. I'm kind of, my mind's half here. And so the idea of that is that he's got superpowers right now. He's very fortified. Think of it by like the warrior came back to his hometown or his homeland or his favorite mansion, the mansion of Aries. He did P90X workouts. He took smoothies every day. He rested. He got buff. He relaxed. He fortified himself. And so he's super fortified, super strong, Aries. And yes, even though this conjunction with Mars meeting Uranus is happening in a sign of Taurus, which is a sign in which Mars is rather weak, it's a sign in which he's in his debility, he's still stronger than he usually is from his long duration resting and fortifying himself in Aries. So I think this is going to be more important and more significant than the other Mars conjunct Uranus episodes in 2017 and 2019. But I'm going to talk about those as well. They can give us a lay of the land of what could be happening in the world on the 20th of January 2021, and maybe give or take a day on either side as well. Add to that, the moon is approaching the conjunction as this day is happening, and then roughly 3 days after, the moon is smack dab involved in this particular melee. And so with the moon being involved, it can mean, of course, the masses are involved or the people are involved, right? But it also can just simply amplify what is going on at that time. And the degree at which this is happening in the sign of Taurus is 6 degrees. So if you want to look at your own natal chart, if you're astrologically inclined, using whole sign houses is preferable. Find out in your whole sign house system where the 6th degree of Taurus is. Is it your 4th house, your 7th house? And do you have any planets close to that degree? I'd say for sure in an engagement, 3 degrees before or after the 6th degree of Taurus is very significant. And you could also apply that to the angles like an equidistant cross. Do you have any planets in or around 6 degrees Scorpio, 3 degrees on either side? So think of it that way: 6 degrees Aquarius, 6 degrees of Leo on either side. Those will get oppositional energy from this event, and those will also get square energy. So that's where it gets really exciting in astrology. You can see derivative reverb through the chart, not just in the place where this happens. Like for me, this is happening in my 4th house. It's very likely I'll be back to tell you about disrupting my plans, maybe to go back to Montreal from Vancouver where I'm staying, or maybe I'll be buying a home, or maybe I'll be moving in a way that's unexpected. Maybe my landlord in Montreal will call me and say, the house burned down, don't come back. Oh my God, I hope not. But you know what I mean, right? So that's where it's happening in my 4th house. But I also have near the 6th degree, a couple of asteroids. So I also can suss out how that might work for me. So we'll get to the all signs, and you'll get to find out for you based on your rising sun and moon where this might happen in your chart. Let's talk about the world stuff first. Now, before I do that, a quick plug for my channel, and like and subscribe, please. I lost about 20 subscribers in 24 hours when a couple of videos back, I posted about, I guess I must have mentioned something political. And it's not even the one, will Trump resign? It was before that, when I said some things that people didn't agree with, either about the vaccines or anti-maskers or conspiracy theory or politics. So yes, I am not going to pretend that I don't have political views, but I am Canadian. So please don't harass me when I make spectator from Canada comments about the US political story. Thank you. All right. Also, I have right now a great opportunity for you to get a whole bunch of stuff. Look down below in the description box. But most exciting, 60-minute videos, 12 of them, $39 for each sign for 2021. If you buy the bundle, you can check out your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising, and you can check out your friends and family. And you'll have access and downloadability for all of those 60-minute times 12 videos. And if you want to buy your own video, just like, oh, I'm just going to do my rising sign, it's $14.95 for a la carte. All right, check the description box below. Thank you. And you can see what else I've got going on down there. All right, let's talk about, I'm going to share the chart, but let me just say a few things that I think about it first. Well, first of all, I want to look at history. There's no point in looking at the now without looking at the then. Why? Because the then informs the now. We can get like patterns, pattern recognition, make assumptions, take some guesses, right? Of what could be going on when Saturn and Jupiter come together. Just remember, this Saturn Jupiter is a bit stronger than usual. I mean, Saturn and Uranus is a bit stronger than usual. And Jupiter is also applying a square to the whole shebang from Aquarius. You got to add that as well as Saturn. So Saturn is squaring the whole energy in a broad square, and Jupiter more tightly. So we've got energy coming squaring from those guys as well. So it's a little bit more complicated than simply Uranus co-joining in the sky with Mars. With Jupiter squaring, Jupiter blows things out of proportion. Like Jupiter blows things up, There was a Jupiter-Mars connection last year, and that was that big bomb that went off in the port in Lebanon. So when Jupiter is involved, it's a big thing, and Mars is explosive, volatile, and fiery and hot, and can be about weapons and bombs. And with Jupiter squaring, it could be not just like, oh my God, there's a tiny little pipe bomb Molotov cocktail going off in the corner. And I don't think so, unfortunately, not with the Jupiter involvement. And I am worried about that, by the way. I do associate the possibility with Uranus mixing it up, sudden, unexpected, explosive, tower-like bolts of light hitting the situation, although we're all expecting something terrible now because we've all been talking about it. And then Mars, kind of military, war, explosion, fire, and weapons. And then Jupiter squaring or blowing up and amplifying the whole story from Aquarius. So yeah, a bit of concern here, to say the least. Now, what happened in the history back? Let's go back in the history story. That can be useful. Okay, so let's go back to 2019. It was on February 13th, 2019, that Mars and Uranus co-joined in the sky. There was, this is funny, you can't make this stuff up. The Mars Range Rover thingy, the rover thing that was roving through Mars and taking pictures and all of that for 15 years, if you can believe it, was announced to be retired on February 13th. So Mars and a rover, like Mars rules like moving vehicles, like cars and stuff. And, it's the Mars rover. And there's a big NASA announcement. They got damaged in a sandstorm and it was off duty and had been retired. Rest in peace. So the death of a Mars rover suddenly announced to the world. Suicide attack, unfortunately, on a bus carrying Iranian military Revolutionary Guard that killed 23 people. On that date, February 13th, suicide, death, attack, on a bus, a moving vehicle, that's Mars's territory. So, I mean, yeah, like you could have, a van full of dirty bomb stuff. I hope it's not dirty bomb, but you know what I mean? Something really bad. I'm going to say something that I'm probably going to get flagged by surveillance, people, like, NSA and stuff. But, why wouldn't a country that's hostile to the United States, like Iran, not necessarily Iran, some hostile nation, take advantage of the chaos in the United States right now and do something destructive, like plant a bomb, but also know that it's probably going to be attributed to a domestic terrorist, because everyone's expecting domestic terrorism to happen around the inauguration. Just seems like a foregone conclusion to me that that's a possibility. Iran protesters marched and demonstrated en masse in a huge protest marches and rallies to celebrate the 40th year of the Iranian Revolution. That also happened on February 13th, which is why I started thinking about foreign nations involving the date of this inauguration. Let's go to 2017. It was on February 26th that Mars and Uranus co-joined in the sky. They were on different signs, guys, but it's still the really energy of the two planets coming together that I'm trying to focus on. So on February 26, 2017, Donald Trump tweeted that he was not going to attend the White House press dinner, like the correspondence dinner, which was a shock. That was his first salvo at the fake news media. That was when he first began to distance himself from the press and put his line in the sand that he wasn't going to do the traditional attending of that dinner, and changed the rules of the game with that. So there you go. I'm going to stand up for something. I'm going to be rebellious, and I'm going to do it my way. And it's going to shock people, and it's going to be radically different, and maybe outside the box. That can be very Uranus meeting up with Mars, and Mars is like angry warrior taking a stand, and Trump was in his version of reality tweeting his stand. Also on February 26, 2017, 28 people were injured in the famous Mardi Gras event, where revelers were having a good time, having a party. Mars loves a good party, it loves a good revelry, and a drunk driver in a moving vehicle. Again, moving vehicles are very much connected to Mars, forms of transportation, plowed into a crowd and killed 28 people. Now, you've got a sense of some of the kinds of things that can happen when Mars combines with Uranus every 2 years. Imagine this year, Jupiter's going to blow it up by squaring Mars and making it bigger than usual, that Mars is super strong, super fortified, super Popeye the Sailor Man. And what does that look like? Well, I've got some optimism for us all. And then I've got some like a little bit of a scary spot too. The optimism I want to bring to bear on this before I show the charts is that on the day of this inauguration, let's go to Washington, D.C. at noon. That's when the old guard goes out, Trump is out, and that's usually around noon that the president actually is officially sworn in. So I did cast a chart for noon on Inauguration Day in Washington, D.C. But on that day, for the whole world, the sun is co-joined with an asteroid, and the sun is co-joined with a star. Now, this is baked in for the United States. Like, this is an inauguration chart, right? The chart of the sky on the day of the inauguration, and a cast for Washington, D.C. at noon kind of is like a way you could scry or look at the entire Biden 4 years ahead, Biden Harris. You can almost say something about it. It is like a snapshot. It's like a birth chart. It's a birth chart of the new administration. And in that sense, we've baked in a few things. The sky has baked in the volatility, the uncertainty, the rebellion, the clashes, the heat, the fire, the upset, the tower of a Uranus with a super strong Mars, out of proportion squared by Jupiter, but also squared by Saturn, which is the authorities trying to clamp down on something. Okay, we got that. We kind of know whatever goes on now is not going to just stop necessarily. We're going to have skirmishes and militias, and there's going to be probably in the United States kind of protests and upsets and rebellions, and it's just going to keep going on. And I don't know what to degree, but it's baked into the next 4 years. But also baked into the next 4 years is sprinkling on the cake is positive stuff on the sun. So the sun is important because it is the solar light, and it represents the king or the leader of a nation. And baked into the sun on the day of the inauguration is the star Altair and the asteroid Ops. Let me go with the asteroid really quickly, because I'm not really an expert on this asteroid. I know more about the star, but the asteroid is the wife of Saturn. Her name was Ops, and she brought abundance and hope, and she was about happy endings after a lot of pain and struggle. So there's an optimism with that sun, abundance, hope, happy endings after pain and struggle. I'll take that. Wouldn't we all? Wait till you see Biden's chart on Inauguration Day. Really shows him as the savior of the populace's health. And then we have Altair. Now, Altair is in the constellation of Aquila, the eagle. You'll often see it involved in military conquest. And if you're doing strategy to like do an election, like when should we launch the war, it would be good to do it when you got that star helping you, because it does bring victory and conquest in military battles. It can bring the vibe of wanting to win, playing to win, and likely to win as well because of that commitment. It's considered a fortunate star, but again, it's got a military like overlay. And think of the eagle symbol. It's a part of the United States mythology, right? The eagle is one of the symbols of the United States. And so It's an alpha star. It's the brightest star in the Eagle constellation. So what else did I write down? Conquest and glory, military achievement. There's a lot more depth to the star than that, but the idea is there. Now, I think that's optimistic because it means baked into the next 4 years is a sense of military achievement, and it's got a kind of a conquest and glory vibe. But it could also be baking in a need for the military to be in a conquesting mode, which does kind of concern me, because why would that happen? Like if there was a major event and it turned out to be looking like domestic terrorism and then uncovered to be a major like explosion and later uncovered to be planted by a foreign nation, what does that maybe look like? It looks like war. So I'm hoping that's not true, but I'm just going to share some of the possibilities. There's a sense of the whole star, Aquila conjoined with the sun on the day of the inauguration, given that the totem animal kind of vibe of the United States is the bald eagle, that it is still more auspicious than it's less. It's more hopeful than it's less hopeful. All right. So that's my take on that. So I'm going to show you the chart of what's happening that day. I'm going to do the all signs as well. Guys, I timestamp, right? So just check the timestamps below. If you want to listen to the political or the overview, just grab the timestamps and you'll see what I mean. Mars and Uranus, keywords: volatile, unpredictable, hot, flashpoint, sudden bursts of energy. In your own personal life, it can be places of great inspiration, excitement, breaking outside of the box, freedom, charismatic energy. People born with that Mars Uranus are very charismatic. Robin Williams, the comedian, had that in his combination chart. So did Frida Kahlo, who was the artist painter who got hit by a car and almost killed. How Mars Uranus is that sudden accidents. That's Mars Uranus. But that informed her entire oeuvre and the way she became this sort of artist who wasn't afraid of death and the darker side. So, it can be positive too. It's not all about calamity. Did I miss any keywords that I'd like to share? A thrill seeker. Yeah. So it could bring out some element of thrill seeking in all of our lives in a certain area of the chart, taking risks, risk taking as well. Let me share this with you. Okay. And we're going to look at the chart. As you can see, it just says transits, but it's January 20th, 12 noon in Washington, D.C. You can see on the day of the inauguration, baking into the chart, there's the sun. Aquila, the eagle's up there close to the sun, but just behind it at the top of the chart. It's also kind of fascinating and intriguing to me that the sun is sitting at 0 Aquarius, which is where the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn happened on December 21st. So it's inhabiting warmed up space. They were sitting in the seat and then here comes the sun. It almost implies that this new age of Aquarian energy, whether it's the fear of air, Saturn in Aquarius, or it's a command of air, especially the air waves, especially we the people, Aquarius, new forms of community and connecting, new technologies for communicating, new social media platforms. I'm now on Clubhouse. I really love it. It's all audio only. That's Aquarian energy, airwaves, talking through the airwaves. We're all video burned out, right? I had to stick lipstick on today just to do this video. Otherwise I wouldn't. So, I love audio because I don't have to put makeup on. So we can see, though, that the sun at the top of the chart on inauguration day is, literally at the top of the chart because it is noon, right? So it's high noon. And we can also note that on the inauguration day, that the conjunction of those two buggers over there, Mars and Uranus at 6 degrees of Taurus, right, are heating up the Taurus energy. Now, Taurus is Earth, and that can definitely portend earthquakes, floods, or, more with the Earth. I'm going to say earthquakes, but also destruction of edifices. Like I said this in an earlier video, Taurus is like edifices. It's, it's fixed, and it's things like, oh my God, Mount Rushmore was bombed. That's an edifice. It's associated, iconic totem edifice. Something like a building that has, great symbolic, merit, or then of course with Mars involved, it could be like things like train tracks and bridges. But I'm just saying more like explosiveness around structures than like, say, targeting people with some bad event, like I hate to say bioweapons to kill people. No, it's like shocking events around structures and forms and tangible earth things. So independent of the United States, worldwide, we could see some definite things going on that has to do with hugely catastrophic weather. and, things like earthquakes. So what else can I say? Yeah, so the inauguration day chart, the Biden administration is piping in an eternal conjunction between Uranus uh, and Mars, with all that discord, rebellion, and uh, crazy ass energy that happens with it. I'm curious why Black Moon Lilith is there. She's kind of the disqualified rebel feminine energy. But she is there. And then we'll just not spend too much time on that. I haven't really pondered it. Baking into the chart for the inauguration day is Hygeia, the goddess of healing and health and wellness. Very popular, the every person's goddess in ancient Hellenistic and Roman times. And there were altars and alcoves everywhere. And you didn't have to pilgrimage to a temple. She was like, you would go say, my aunt is sick, and you would put some fruit on the altar. So it's the every person's altar, and it's at the root of the United States chart: health, healing, wellness, petitioning for that. So there's a desire every 4 years to accomplish some foundational wealth. And of course, if we were looking at the idea of a White House or an administration in a White House, that is the fourth house, right? And there's health and healing and wellness going on within the White House itself, but the administration, a focus on that, hygiene. Funny enough, I was reading how they had to scour, normally the president would just go out goes Trump, in comes Biden, or they're going to have to spend time sanitizing and disinfecting the White House. So, the inauguration is happening when the goddess of hygiene, Hygeia, is in the White House. They're going to hygiene the White House. Can't make this stuff up. But it also means that you're going to see an administration wearing masks and following protocols around a good public hygiene in the time of a pandemic, which was not seen during the Trump administration. Don't blast me for pointing out the obvious. I'm not making a comment about your mask stance. Thank you. Also, what's baking into the chart at the time is that there's a loss in the house of wealth. This is like a wealth house. This is like savings and loans. This is like the stock market and investments and stuff like that. And the South Node is baking in letting go and loss energy. However, there's momentum in the second house: rebuilding, restructuring, new forms of wealth, creating new ways to generate money other than quantitative easing and printing money. We shall see what that looks like. With Gemini, it's inventive and it's mercurial. Could be about technology, new ways of creating momentum financially with new technologies and a new technological industry. Baking into the chart, the people, we the people. There's usually the moon in a chart, right? And here's the we the people, United States at the 29th degree, anorectic, like finally getting done with a cycle. We the people are really getting done with something. It's a completion in Aries. Well, Aries is battle, warrior, fighting, right? So maybe this is next 4 years will be a completion of this kind of civil war-like rebellion strife that's arising in the United States. But it will top out at the 29th, which is a critical degree, which can often be inflammatory and more intense, okay? So, but it will also peak out, but it will peak during the next 4 years of this administration. And lastly, I guess I don't want to talk forever about this chart because I want to get to the all signs, I think. I would like to point out that baking into this chart, I love the word baking in. It's kind of like a cookie dough or something. There is that assembly of planets, a stellium in Aquarius, and there's a huge amount of energy going into the Aquarian story. And that stellium is next to the 9th house, which can represent for the United States other countries like foreign lands, as well as the sort of soul impulse and the spiritual impulse of the nation. And in terms of the foreign land story, I find it curious. There's a built-in wealth yoga. Kind of when Venus and Pluto get together that close, it can be about wealth, but it's wealth via foreign lands or wealth by the nation finding its soul. I'm not sure what to make of that. It's very fascinating. And the midheaven is up here. And that's like this is the heart of the United States is focused on a death and rebirth archetype regarding foreign lands and soul. And, possibly Venus is here. The midheaven is the high noon with the king on it, different signs, but they're beside each other, right? The ruler, the king and death, and then Venus. Look, guys, I said it before, and I'm not trying to pounce. I don't want Joe Biden. I don't want to talk about people like they're not people. He's a person, but he's elderly, and he could have a health event that he takes a step out, if not dies out of the White House, out of power. And then right in the ranks, coming in right behind him is a woman. Who would that woman be? Kamala Harris. Why? Well, Kamala Harris is right now, she's in a ninth house perfection age. She's walking through her ninth house, but she has Saturn in her ninth house. And that's kind of like a classic position for someone who would be the kingmaker, the hand behind the king, the person behind the power, the vice president. And yeah, she's waiting in the wings behind the king energy of the sun. And Pluto's there too. So I don't think he'll finish his 4 years. I don't know if Biden just steps down for health reasons or if he's critically ill or what, and she will step in at some point. I haven't predicted when yet, but I do see that happening. Biden seems to be fine on Inauguration Day. I'm not seeing death transits for him that in my cursory look. Gosh, the guy's being covered. So, there's putting so much attention on the inauguration stage and making sure it's safe that I'm wondering, when all the attention goes to that place, what isn't being seen? Where is there not enough protection and coverage that some other place will be under attack in the nation's capital, like the Library of Congress or something? Okay, and that stellium in Aquarius tells me the United States focus of that administration over the next 4 years is Aquarian, new forms of groups, connecting, creating new communities, technology. Technology is doubled up with Mercury here, new forms of communication. Jupiter in Aquarius, serving Saturn, who's the lord of the space. Saturn in Aquarius, putting structures and form and rules into place around community, with Jupiter saying, but let me find a way that is optimistic and people can get enthused about. Something like that. Okay, I wonder if this is also borders. People are closing national borders because of COVID, and this is the house of foreign lands. And so death to the borders, borders are no longer crossable for some of the administration's time 4 years ahead. And if I was trying to time it, right, Pluto will hit the midheaven in 2 years. So could that be a sign of a change in terms of closed borders, or a change in terms of Kamala stepping up? Yeah, 2 years. We shall see. We shall see. Just going from 24 to 26. All right. That's it. You know what? I'm going to go to the all signs. I might do a different video about the relationship of Biden to this chart, because I did pull him up earlier. I was quite fascinated. I'll show you what I had. I don't know if I'm going to keep going on that. Don't think I have the energy to do it today. I just had a long work day, and I'm recording this on, see, I'm so out of it. I don't even know what day it is. I don't even know what day I'm at. I'm recording this at 4:09 in the afternoon on the day that it is, whatever that is, the 16th of January. All righty. Putting it out on the 17th because my Patreons always get early access to all my content up to 3 days early, in this case, 24 hours early. Join my Patreon community, guys. 21 of us. We get together every week, every Tuesday, for a live call where I do live divination for people's charts, but I also cover a topic of interest and we investigate it with my tarot reader sister, Cindy Lee of Blind Faith Reading, and guest tarot readers as well, depending on whether my sister's available. All right. So, oh, I thought I had Joe Biden. No, I do, but I wanted to. Yes, Lori, you can wake up and smell the coffee. I should have had a cup of tea before I started. With green tea would have worked. Okay, guys, sorry about that. Sorry, I'm a little out of it there. Okay, Joe Biden. Okay, transits around Joe, right? Fascinating, good day for him on Inauguration Day. What I like about it is the midheaven on Joe Biden's chart, his high noon, God's plan for him, vault of heaven, his calling to take action in the world, is on a Vestal flame, a devotional flame. I like to think of that as Olympic torch, Statue of Liberty. And so, what he's up to is something he really will devote himself to. But you can see that Vesta's past the midheaven, it's waning. Like he's stepping in, but he's kind of half-hearted, but he still has the flame within an engagement of his midheaven. You can see that that flame will be out of engagement with his midheaven, which is basically a 20-degree midheaven rounded up to a 21.5. So you can see that in about a year and a half, that flame will wane on his midheaven. And I think he's going to step away or step down for some reason. But he's still got a good 18 months of rah, hold that torch up, the torch of purpose and power and good stuff like that. Why is he really good for the health of the nation? And why did I say that earlier? Well, partly I think it was because of High Geo, and I was looking at it. Let me go find her. In the heavens on the day, the hygiene goddess. Where are you? Hygeia. Can't find you. Hygeia. I can't see her. I'm delirious. All right. I bet you one of you guys is watching and you've already found, there she is. So Hygeia, the goddess of hygiene, health, wellness, and healing. Okay, she's the daughter of Asclepius, as she looks like two snakes, like the symbol of medicine. There she is, and it's conjunct Joe Biden's Hygeia, and it's moving retrograde. So technically, she's moving a bit away from it, but she's still co-joined, and she will move forward again. She's engaged within 3 degrees with his own goddess of healing. And I find it interesting when he was born that goddess of healing conjunct the god of death, and people are dying of coronavirus with comorbidities, age, and just bad luck, and vitamin D deficiency, maybe. He was born for these times, right? You're seeing him inaugurated on a day when the goddess of health and healing is lined up with his goddess of health of healing and engaged with his Pluto, his god of death, in his chart in the house of soul, truth, God, wisdom, but also foreign lands. Of course, he's negotiating with vaccine manufacturers. Some of them aren't even in this country, like the one in England. So I find that pretty intriguing. And he was born with Chiron, the healer, the wounded healer, in the same co-present with the same thing. He's literally coming in to mop up the best he can this healing energy for his administration over the next 4 years. Although, as I said, I don't think he finishes his 4 years. And in his chart, the IC, the bottom of his chart, on the day of the inauguration, he's got great mother Ceres, the grain goddess, the harvest, the rescuing mother. This is the house of the mother in astrology, in Hellenistic style, and the homeland. This is the house of the homeland. So in the house of the homeland and the motherland and the mother, he's got the rescuing mother. Joe's got a Cancer, exalted Cancer Jupiter. It's kind of sweet. I mean, Jupiter exalted is why he's in power now and why he's always been close to power. It's the king of Mount Olympus and the sign of his exaltation. But I also find it can be a very nurturing Jupiter, a motherly quality to it. And so here we have it, he's coming in like the rescuing mama bear here to fix up the homeland of the United States of America. And you can see that on the day of the inauguration, she's only... she's 18 and a half, and he's got, a year and a half. So 18 and a half, 19 and a half, almost 20. So again, we see that year and a half theme. A year and a half from now, his rescuing mother wanes away from, hits direct and begins to wane away from the root of his chart. So again, a year and a half to 2 years from now, Joe Biden probably won't be the president. Kamala will have stepped up. And on the inauguration day, his moon is at the 29th anorectic degree. It's kind of getting ready to retire. It's getting ready to leave what it's been doing and move into a new area. Oh, sorry, that's the inauguration day moon. I apologize. That's the transit day. But it's at the anorectic degree. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I told you, we the people. Yeah, but it's co-joined with his moon, right? It's a sign away, but degree-based aspect. And 29 to 053, so that's a year. I'm just doing a solar arc time or degree a year, so that's about a year. And that's 29, that's 2 years. So in 2 years, what does it mean that the inauguration day critical degree moon meets his moon in the house of health and sickness? Again, I keep seeing signs that around a year and a half to 2 years from now, something happens with his health, or something happens with his desire to be in office, or whatever, and he steps down. Okay, or it moves away, or hopefully isn't critically ill. I'm not going to talk more about that. Let's go all signs. I hope that was somewhat enjoyable and that you learned a little bit today about the way charts can work, and hopefully gain some knowledge from that stuff. Let's go and talk about each sign. So to do that, I need to pause and change it up again. Subsidiary chart recently used, transits. Here we go, guys. Let's make it fun and let's make it simple. We're going to go through every single sign, and I'm going to keep it brief because, your own chart is so complex. You can't really, honestly, as much as I'd like you to get enough out of, this kind of astrology, really you want to see an astrologer. But remember, you can go back to February 2013, 17 and 19 on the dates I mentioned, and earlier in the video, and what was happening with you on February 17th, 2017, 13, 2017, and whatever the dates were, because I don't have them handy anymore. And you can make some assumptions. February 13th, 2019, February 26th, 2017. How did Uranus and Jupiter behave for you? I mean, Uranus and Saturn behave for, oh my God, Uranus and Mars behave for you when they came together in your chart then. Knowing it was a different sign, a different time, that Jupiter wasn't squaring them, you still may suss out some patterns. All right. Okay, back to what I was doing. Aries rising, sun and moon, especially rising sign. Always look for your rising and then look for your sun or moon, depending if you're born at night or day. How do you know? Astro.com, free charts. Go cast your chart. You will need your birth time. Sun below the ascendant, descendant horizon. Guess what? You are born at night. If it's above, you're born in the day. Especially important to do if you're born in the evening or the morning when you're not sure if the sun is up yet. All right. So Aries, sun, moon, and ascendant. This is your chart, what the sky looks like on the day of the inauguration. The midheaven stuff, ignore all of that, okay, because it's all set for Washington, D.C. So just ignore the clutter. The key piece is to pay attention to what happens when Mars and Uranus are co-joined in your second house. Sudden change in your money, sudden change in your financial status, a bolt of exhilarating, thrill-seeking, risk-taking in your finances, or a risk you've taken pays off. Something is changing here. If you were taking speculative risks, because it's trines the house of money speculative risks over here, something is paying off. Did you buy some kind of crypto that just flew through the roof? Did you buy a lottery ticket, just suddenly you realize you won? So now, do you realize you won on the 20th? Maybe. You know, this energy isn't just for that day. It's acute on that day. But from studying the charts of past transits of this, I say that it's a good 10 days before and after that you still have this sort of like reverb of what's going on, where Mars is engaging with Uranus. So yes, look for that, not just on the day, but later. So it's a money story, guys, for you Aries, sun, moon, and ascendants. It's exciting. This is a house of your self-worth and your voice. If you have a message for the world and you're like, I got to share my message. Uranus is the god of the internet. Mars is momentum. Did you put out a viral video? Did it something you put out into the world with your voice, your message go viral? Something could really go crazy. Let's go crazy. Let's keep it simple. I'm not going to belabor this, but that's exciting. Of course, don't forget that sun's up there with born to rule, glory, conquest, achievement. Aquila at the time this is happening as well. I kind of just think that's a good omen, but it's happening in all of you, Aries, sun, moon, ascendant, the house of great gains financially. So there's another touch point of possibility. And there's that Jupiter up there with Saturn square and the combustion, boom. Oh, trying to restrain it and I'm trying to blow it up at the same time. Okay, moving forward. Taurus, sun, moon, and ascendant. This is going to be a story that involves your identity, your physical body, as well as your sense of who you are. Now, if you want to radically change your appearance and you've been like, I really can't take this, blah hair, or I hate my wardrobe, I'm tossing everything out. That's very much like a freedom loving, outside the box, eccentric, crazy ass Uranian meets Mars. You have the action, momentum, and force to go ahead and do all of that. Now, be careful, all you Taurus, sun, moon, and ascendant, so you don't get into any kind of injury. It's classic when those two come together that people injure themselves. So just be careful. Play it extra cautious, especially on the 20th, not to hurt yourself. And especially for Taurus rising more than sun and moon. Okay. And also, you may feel like a rebel. Like this is kind of like you become the rebel during the 20th, give or take, a day or two on either side. Your rebellious, freedom loving, thrill seeking energy and your volatility of self is really heightened. So you could break free of some kind of shackles in your life, and especially in relationships that aren't working, friendships or others, because it's opposite the house of marriage, opposite the house of business partners and clients. And you might just ditch that client or ditch that friend, or just break free of something, or break free of a pattern with your marriage partner. Okay, break free of something anyway. But you're very rebellious. Don't, watch yourself on that day. Or is it worth rebelling? Are you a rebel with or without a cause? Don't rebel for rebellion's sake. Mars is somewhat muted in Taurus. He's trying to be, more peace loving and Venusian, but he's still Mars. And so be careful that you don't pick a fight that you can't resolve or that you wish you didn't pick. in the name of freedom and rebellion. Let's keep going. Told you it was short and sweet. This is the, Geminis of the storyline. Look at you guys there. Okay, for Gemini, this is happening in your house of past lives, your house of your dreams and your meditations, a house of hospitals and prisons. And so sometimes, like Mars, Uranus, prison break, what prison in your life do you need to break out of? Is there something that's restraining you? Is there a habit, a pattern, an addiction, a self-undoing that you have, and you're just ready to break away from it? And you're going to do it with great rebellious force, and you're going to do it with a big shout out, And so you may step into some kind of direction you never saw yourself going when it comes to your self-healing and getting rid of self-undoing and straitjackets that you put on yourself. The 12th house is a house of hidden enemies. And if you have any hidden enemies, you may bust free of them. They won't be hidden by then, of course, but the idea, right? You may denounce or move away or radically reshift your reality around people you think are allies and they're not. Anything else? Dreams at night. You could have breakthrough dreams. I mean, you could have like one of those like dreams that you can't believe. You have to write it down. It was like shook up your world. You get great insight from it. Okay. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so here we have the glyph here for you Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant people out there. This is happening up here for you guys in your 11th house of good spirit. Great house for luck and great financial gain from one's career. It's kind of a karmic reward zone. It's where your hopes and wishes and goals and dreams are, as well as belonging to groups of people that you choose to belong to. Like associations, allies, collegiate relationships, tribal communities, etc. I mean, tribal in modern sense, tribal, excuse my hiccups. So I kind of feel like this is a very fertile zone of goodness. And now you've got some breaking through energy here. You could have an upset with an ally, a friend, or a colleague. If you do, they might outpicture being bombastic and volatile, and you might have to deal with it. But my reminder is that nonetheless, it's the house of good spirit. So if something breaks through there in which a colleague or a friend in a social setting, group setting, turns out to be aggressive and explosive, then you needed to see that part of them anyway. I mean, something good is going to come from that, but it also could be you being that way within a group, you having a need to break free or rebel from an existing affiliation or group of people that you belong to and find a new direction and do it with great vim and vigor, if not sort of a kind of energy burst, an energy burst or kind of almost like a yeehaw, yeehaw, breaking away from that group. A lot of people are really tired of social media. I'm getting really burnt out on some of it, especially Facebook. I'm in Clubhouse now. I'm in my 11th house profection age, which is this area. And I just got invited to Clubhouse, been there for 2 weeks, love the app. So, some people may be breaking away from their social media alliances going, I'm just done. Facebook is, had become very challenging place full of bombast and accusations and trolling. And Clubhouse doesn't let you troll. It's in beta testing, guys. You can't get in yet unless you get an invitation, but there's no trolling allowed or you're kicked out immediately. I love that. All right. Moving forward. Sorry, I doth digress. I doth ramble there. Okay. You can see how it takes a while to change the rising sign, right? Because it's not all equal time. That's just fascinating. I always find that interesting. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. This is an aspect of your reality changing your career, your house of your career. This can be your office, your work, your people at work. Well, it's more like the career itself, like the office mates can be 6th house energy, but the 10th house is like, this is the thing, I'm a politician, I'm an astrologer, I'm a da-da-da. And this huge eruptive energy in the house of that career ambition and action or practice in the world, this could really accelerate for you something new in your career direction. And maybe coming upon you as a download, an insight, or somebody suddenly showing you something new, or you just deciding to break free of some rut and just bust out of something in the career direction that doesn't really fit anymore. Okay, and technically, you know, somebody in the office career zone, like somebody in the career path could be out picturing this for you, being an aggressive and volatile and difficult and maybe conflictual, aggressive Uranian energy. So if that happens, you know, what do you make of it? What do you do with it? What's it showing you? I always say if somebody's acting super aggressive toward me, and it's happened, especially in the troll land, I have to stop and look at myself. Like, are they reflecting a part where I'm not like, I know it sounds cliche, but it's loving myself enough, you know? So whatever shows up in your workspace or your career space, it's trying to make change for you. And don't forget, it only happens every 2 years like this, and not in your 10th house every 2 years, right? This one is in Taurus now. And, you know, Uranus will be in Taurus until like 2026. So we're seeing the Taurus activations, right? Where is in 2017, Uranus was not in Taurus for the Mars conjunction at all. He was in Aries in your 9th house. And then in 2019, what month was it? Let me look. I don't think he'd stepped into Taurus yet. February 13th. No, he was still waiting to get there. So they were over in Aries. So now it's the first one in Taurus. And so this is the first time you've had a shakeup like this in the career zone with a super strong Mars. So I would predict for some of you guys, Leo, Sun, Moons, you're going to quit your job or walk away from a career path and start something new. And the catalyst is coming this January 20th. Don't forget, give it 10 days before and after. Virgo, Sun, Moon, and especially Ascendant. This is happening in your 9th house of higher education, campuses, colleges, foreign lands, religious beliefs, philosophies, courts. Lots going on, you know? Somehow there's a jolt here. If you're a student, you may change your major, you may ditch your program, you may radically change something about the studies you're doing in higher education. If you may get a breakthrough insight about something like, oh, I took an elective and I realized that was my true calling. Some of you who are not a student, this is a radical change of your spiritual philosophy and your beliefs that could come bursting through like a lightning bolt for you. If you travel to foreign lands or want to, there's disruption in your plans, or there's changes in your plans, or there's some bolt of exciting opportunity and thrill-seeking adventure that could come from a foreign land. I don't know anyone who's traveling to foreign lands right now. I think we're all pretty well hunkered down worldwide. So like maybe it's something to think about, maybe an opportunity from a foreign land that's game-changing, but it may not mean going there yet. Okay, what else? That's it. Libra, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. You're going to experience this in your financial corridor of your house, your earnings, your savings. Please be careful with your stocks. I don't know. Now that Joe Biden in the United States, for instance, has put that 1 point something trillion stimulus into gear, it's possible that will inflate the stock market a little bit longer out of an essence of hope. And so it maybe not like on the 20th, will there be a stock market correction per se? But I want you to be careful because there's a jolt of energy in your place of your bank loans, your savings, your taxes, your spouse's money, inheritance money. If you are a Libra, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, and you are in line to inherit, your chart can often show that. If you have Jupiter in your 8th house, it's like classic stands to inherit or to benefit greatly from spouse's money. If you have that, that's even more true for you because this conjunction happens there. But if you don't have that, it could just mean a dramatic shift in your finances. Now, it doesn't always have to be bad. It could be a sudden positive dramatic shift in your wealth part of your chart. But it could also be calamitous. So tuck your money into safer places if you are taking risks right now. That would be my advice. If you've been trying to leverage something, bank loans and legal agreements, you could have a sudden turn of events that you didn't expect to change the terms. It could be in your favor again. Don't look at this as a doomy thing. It could be positive. All right. If there's somebody that you know that's at risk of dying, because it is the house of death, and you're kind of worried about them, Mars, Uranus together could be something sudden, like a sudden bolt that hits them of some kind, like a stroke, maybe, or a heart attack. I'm not like trying to worry you, but I'm just going to be honest. That can look like, or an accident in the house of death. For some of you, Libra, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants, you can't change that. There's nothing you can do with that. But I would be remiss if I didn't say sometimes these things are literal. The moon is co-joining, co-present. So that means mother. So if your mom is not doing well, some of you Libra sun or a female that that's kind of motherly, that could be to be vigilant about that, or prepared for that. Moving on. Scorpio, sun, moon, and ascendant. This is going to be that jolt, that electrifying force of rebellion, freedom, volatility, and thrill seeking with Mars and Uranus in the house of long-term committed love and business partnership, your 7th house. I'm wondering if you're going to be struck by Cupid's arrow, because when Mars is in the 7th house, I have seen amazing new relationships form for people. And Mars will be there every 2 years, but don't forget how strong he is, fortified and juiced up from his stay in Aries. And then Uranus is the internet. If you're doing online dating, some of you Scorpio, sun, moon, and ascendants, using online technology for dating, like dating apps or services or something, you could have a breakthrough around the 20th. Now, give or take 10 days on either side. Breakthroughs in long-term committed love partnership possibilities and business partnerships. So new beginnings and endings, even something sudden shifting around allegiances and alliances and partnerships. As well, there is a possibility this could be about a new kind of client, because if you see clients or people one-on-one, this is seventh house energy. And yeah, you could have a sudden breakthrough. Some of you Scorpios with a client, a new kind of client, like an exciting, thrill-seeking, dynamic, new kind of client stepping into the story, and/or a male may be giving you some support with the internet and reaching new audiences. This literally means the house of audience and who you reach, the house of collective others as well. That's how it's always worked when I looked at charts of people's breaking through, like with a viral hit, and it's a transit to their 7th. So yeah, internet gods there now since 2019, and Uranus will also be here till 2026, but now Mars gives him momentum. So maybe some virility or viral content or momentum with your internet stuff. Okay. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and ascendant. This is going to be an activation for you guys of this, exciting, thrill-seeking, rebellious, breaking through, explosive energy in your 6th house of health protocols in order not to be sick, because it's the house of sickness. And if you've been sick, it could be a breakthrough in your health, like a massive bolt of sudden shifting. Yay. If you want to change the work you do. And that means the daily routines of your work as well as health. I get on the Zoom call, I have a desk in here and I work at these hours, and, I'm in my office, and this is my office colleagues, and this is my employers, and this is my employee, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of 6th house, a house of service, servitude, duty, slavery. Kind of funny that slavery is in the workhouse. But anyway, I get the idea here that you could have some real breakthroughs in that. And for some of you Sagittarius, sun, moon, and ascendants, this could also, as I said, be a health breakthrough, especially if it's health issues that you undo yourself by, because it's connected to the 12th, which is like your addictions, your bad habits, your indulgences, the lack of care and attention to your health routines. And then with this bolt of energy with Mars can mean warrior and activity and athleticism, and Uranus is something new. Like this makes me think of Peloton, the app, and also the bike thing, doing these like Peloton classes where you're live with a guy doing online Pelotoning and stuff. You might find a new breakthrough protocol for your health and some real breakthroughs in your work in the world as well, especially the daily way at work you do the work you do. Capricorn, sun, moon, and ascendant, you're going to find this energy enlivening and stimulating romantic love, children, pregnancy, childbirth, business and money speculation, independent business enterprise, creativity, and the muse. If you're an artistic Capricorn, the muse might strike you with a big idea, a huge idea. If you are your own business owner, this could be a breakthrough in your business. If you want to speculate with money and put a chunk of money down on, red number 5, go for it. Don't overdo it. I'm not telling you to be I'm not telling you to take crazy risks, but you certainly can buy a lottery ticket. Okay, so a bolt of something happening for you, Capricorn, sun, moon, and ascendants. If you don't want a baby, be careful. Mars is kind of like, Mars with Uranus can be like birth control failure and aggressive sperm, Mars, creating a baby, moon, motherhood, womb energy here. So just be cautious for some of you Capricorns, sun, moon, and ascendants. If you or your partner aren't anticipating pregnancy, then this could be a time in which you could get pregnant, but also it could be unexpected breakthroughs around that. Like you've been trying forever and suddenly you get pregnant. You've been working on fertility regimes and suddenly they work. Breakthroughs in the fertility zone of the chart. If you're a performer at all, this is a house of performers, and you could have a great breakthrough in your performance, whether it's a stage or music performance, it doesn't matter, or whatever you do as an actor, actress, singer, songwriter, performer, artist, breakthroughs there as well. You could have children that you can combat with, and an explosive, rebellious child drive you insane around the 20th. That be cautious for that. This is the house of children. And if I saw that in my house of children, first of all, I tell my children not to be reckless and to be very careful on the 20th or a couple of days before and after, just because it can cause accidents in the house of children. But it also tells me that you could have a breakthrough with one of your children, like, finally a stalemate or some problem breaking through for them or with them. All right, moving on. Aquarius, which is me, rising, sun and moons. This is your era, dudes. We are the next guard. And I love that we get the astrological blessings of Jupiter and Saturn that carries us through 2 decades of having great power in our first house of our identity, our body, our health, our presence, and our character in this game of life. Now, I always want to remind us that we're in a special place, us Aquarius risings particularly. Now, this energy is happening for us in the house of home. Get ready to move or get ready to have a massive disruption in your home. Now, this can be the homeland, this can be the city you live in, and it can be the apartment or house or whatever. It's just the root of the chart. This is the house of the mother. If your mother is alive, especially with the moon co-present, there could be disruption with your mom or relationship to your mom, or breakthroughs with your relationship to your mom. However, this is also your home. And so where is that going to shift? Like I said earlier, I have an apartment in Montreal. I'm house sitting in Vancouver. Will my landlord call me and tell me the place burned down? I hope not. Well, thank God I have my precious stuff in a fireproof safe. Will I decide that I'm going to buy something? Will I win the lottery and buy a place in Vancouver? I don't know. But some bolt of energy is happening here on the 20th, 10 days before and 10 days after. With Uranus in Aquarian people's fourth house since, oh my gosh, March of 2019, it is a nomad transit. And so lots of Aquarians don't stay put between 2019 and 2026, a little bit of a migratory impulse there, but with sudden change, sudden picking up, sudden moves. And just expect that something about your home or your mother or your city that you live in is going to dramatically and suddenly revolt, change, have a risk-taking endeavor to it that benefits you. I'd say benefits you. And yeah, some of you might want to move to a foreign land inevitably, because Venus rules the house of foreign lands, and this is happening in Venus's sign, and she rules your 9th. But who knows? But it's definitely based in your home environment. Okay, moving on. Pisces, sun, moon, and ascendant, especially rising or ascendant sign. This is happening in your 3rd house of siblings, short trips and travel, self-expression, writing, and selling and marketing and merchandising. Quite often, this is a very busy cadent house. That's where we do social media stuff. Now, you could have a breakthrough, especially if you're writing or if you're doing marketing or selling your services or your products online. Uranus meeting with Mars, like a big bolt of electrified surge, a big burst of energy here. It could be very exciting for you. Could be a female involved in helping you with that. You never know. You could get a woman like, in the story wanting to support you in your writing, in your marketing and selling, in your communication and self-expression. Now, short trips and travel, this is not going off to a foreign land. This is like somewhere, like certainly within your state, or in your province or in your area. But this is definitely domestic travel. So you could have a trip that you didn't expect come up, or cancel a trip that you wanted to take suddenly canceled. with new restrictions coming in for the virus, a lot of places are changing the rules around travel, and it could be a restraint on travel suddenly happening, but also could be a new opportunity for a short trip suddenly happening that could be quite revolutionary and very positive for you in some way. Siblings, you could have a breakthrough with a sibling. You could have a breakdown with a sibling. You could have an argument with a sibling. Just be cautious around the sibling narrative. This is the house of your brothers and sisters. Sometimes cousins and aunts and uncles too, but certainly brothers and sisters. If you have a friend who's like a brother, like a sister, a real close friend, that person is a third house friend, and there could be combat arguments and upsets with them as well. Always be willing to only choose the battles you need to fight, and also don't rebel without a cause. Try to step back if you're the one that's heated up. And if they're the one that's heated up, step back as well. Take a few breaths, see what's trying to really happen there. All right, guys, that's it. That is my 12 signs of the zodiac for this big Uranus co-joined Mars. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to stop this. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, please, and help me grow. Please check out all the things I have below. Most of my clients come to me by word of mouth, and I'm booked out usually now about a month in advance. Not always, but right now I think I am. But I do love getting new clients off of YouTube. And I've had a couple of you guys recently, and I'm like so surprised and delighted when somebody I've never met, not through a referral system, shows up at my Zoom doorstep and they found me on YouTube. It's so cool. I really love that stuff. Okay. And I love doing readings. It's my joy to do readings with people. And I don't do that many. I do transparent. I do usually 8 to 9, 10 a week at most, usually 8. Because that's all I really can do. I put my heart and soul into them. I put everything into them. And I am a clairvoyant and a clairaudient. So I'm also using those faculties during the session. So, but please come if you feel called to see me in a reading. I'd love to meet you. And that said, don't forget, all signs discount bundle below. Mwah.